I would like to briefly review the real estate market in Hanoi during 2009. Generally speaking, the market was quite active. Some segmentations, in particular, were very dynamic, which seems to be paradoxical to experts concerned in the early 2009. In the first quarter, when the crisis was in its serious stage, though the apartment for sales did experience a downturn, it was only a small decline. This market segment then proved its own strength in quarter 2, 3, 4. Several noticed that this is a very unique point of Hanoi apartment for sales market. Retail market, contrary to people's expectation of a big booming up in Vietnam's entrance to the WTO, did not experience such a success. People discovered that they need to give location and investment decision a more proper consideration. In 2009, service apartment was not very much affected by the crisis. Meanwhile, hotel and office for lease market worked out the same way with specialist anticipation in 2008. Main trend was oversupply, lower occupancy rate, lower rentals. By Q4 2009, according to Savills research, there has been 83 office buildings in the market. 9 office buildings launched in the first quarter of the year provided a large area to the market, compared to only 18 new office buildings launched in the whole 2009. Q4 new supply is considerably huge. This appears to lay more pressure on the market. However, the average occupancy rate was more than 80%, nearly 2% decrease quarter on quarter. Average rental was increasing, and this is really good news for this market. As mentioned above, this cementation's development was not up to people's expectation, but people now discover that they do need to learn about this market. An office with a large area in the podium does not guarantee full occupancy and a high rental rate. Even if the demand for leasing is high, retailers won't just choose anything offered to them in the market. They are now more picky and careful with their decision. By Q4 2009, total supply for all kinds, including small supermarkets, is about 372,000 square meters. Foreign retailers indeed just pay attention to big shopping malls. Only small to medium investors or retailers look at small supermarkets. Average occupancy rate remains at 90%, 2% increase quarter on quarter. By 2012, the supply may double to around 700,000 square meters. Future supply is mainly big shopping malls. Big shopping centers, accounting for 48% of total supply, often locate outside the city center. In contrast to people's expectation of a high price, the price for an area in a good location just settles at 50 to 80 US dollar per meter. Please be noted that this price is much higher in Ho Chi Minh City. The demand is very high, yet the supply is also abundant. Retailers always try to close the deal with a reasonable price. This is why while people say the retail market will be booming, the price is indeed not very high. Hotel market was directly affected by the crisis. Fewer amount of foreign visitors coming to Vietnam, especially visitors from Australia, Europe, leads to a decrease in the occupancy rate, rental price, and revenue per available room. There are, however, 2 positive signals we found at the last 2 quarters of the year. Firstly, more local visitors have been traveling domestically. Secondly, the end of the year is always a high season for traveling. Therefore, in Q4, occupancy rate and rental went up. 5-star hotel occupancy rate increased by 8% quarter on quarter, and 4-star hotel occupancy rate increased by 2% quarter on quarter. Revenue per available room in all grades was lowest in Q2 and improved in Q3 and Q4, increasing 28% on average. This is really good signal for this market, yet it doesn't mean a completely recovered period. By Q4 2009, total primary supply is approximately 2,200 apartments, 2% increase quarter on quarter. In Q4 alone, there is a new supply of 1,000 apartments. The market was active from the end of October and the early November, especially in Hoàng Mai, Cầu Giấy, Từ Liêm district and Levin Lương Road. The average price of grade A is $2,600 per square meter, and the average price of grade B is $1,260 per square meter, and the average price of grade C is $635 per square meter. In the secondary market, the average price in all districts also went up. In the future, there will be more supply in the primary market. We find that developers are now considering new areas outside the center. Obviously, in the secondary market, the price was higher, but actually, the price is not the only factor. We should also look at the number of transactions. However, there is now no organization releasing official information about the number of transactions on a weekly or monthly basis. The market at the end of the year was not as active as it was in the end of Q3 and early Q4. Serviced apartment. Currently, we have 40 projects with 2,200 serviced apartments. There is no new project in quarter 4. Rental price in Q4 increased 3% compared to Q3, but decreased 6% compared to the same period last year. Crisis somehow affected this market segmentation as it did with other market segmentations. However, amongst all other market segments, this market seemed to be the least affected by the macroeconomy. There is always a number of foreigners living and working in Vietnam.